Goalkeepers, nervous strikers, they'll deliver. Crowd roars erupted, you can feel the quake. 80,000 voices. We never move and a Louis and Lou. We never move and a Louis and Lou. We never move and a Louis and Lou. Sharp cuts on the field, defenders they shiver. Goalkeepers, nervous strikers, they'll deliver. Crowd roars erupted, you can feel the quake. 80,000 voices.
Hello there, you're welcome to the channel. So today, or rather in this video, we'll be talking about the latest transfer news that made the rounds. And then where do we start? We start with, of course, Chelsea have signed, or rather close to completing the signing for Brighton, winger, or is he central attacking midfielder? I don't know. I think he's more for winger. Loan signing from Brighton, a young Argentine. I think it's for a loan. And apparently he'll be heading to Chelsea. Now, Chelsea fans, how you feel about it? It's just, for me, I think that's madness. It's madness. It just shows the lack of planning. You know, it shows the lack of planning, in my opinion. Because for one, if you wanted a young 10, right? You wanted to go with your young metric, your young sort of signing style. Chelsea, what you do done probably is Kendrick Pius. You signed him, you sent him back on loan to his former club. The intention was for him to join Chelsea, and that was all the briefing that the likes of Fabrizio Romano got, the likes of Honestly got, that he was going to join Chelsea, right? That he was going to join Chelsea, at least for the Club World Cup. But come Club World Cup, he didn't join Chelsea. What then happened? He went on to and I'll get loaned out to Strasbourg. Then Chelsea got linked to Xavi Simons. For whatever reason, that deal didn't go through. You went on to chase a winger, and you have people who've come out to say, and this is the thing I don't like. Well, you see people who have huge platforms that they come out and say silly things, right? I think maybe they're getting paid, or they want to remain in the good graces of the club. I think every club, fortunately, unfortunately, have this sort of fans. So some Chelsea fans with big accounts on X and whatever come up to say that Chelsea don't need a 10. When, if you've watched closely last season, you've seen how Cole Palmer has struggled being the only person playing in that 10 role. And we've been complaining. We've seen in games where Enzo Maresca has continued to play Cole Palmer despite his injuries, right? And you've kept on playing, and you say you don't need a 10, that Chelsea doesn't need a number 10. Yes, it's one thing. You refuse to sign Xavi Simons for whatever reason. He waited for the club to be signed. Whatever reason he didn't get signed, you sign a winger instead. But let's not forget, you still have Tyreek George in the building, and you are in control of his future. You could have still held on to him past yesterday or past 2 days ago. Get the signing for Xavi Simons done. Tyreek George plays his last game at the Bridge today against Fulham. And then the way Garnacho has set himself up, there's only one club he could have gone to. There's only one club. He's bond bridges with Manchester United. They want him out. And no other club are interested. We're interested in Garnacho. So you went to sign Garnacho, now you don't have a 10. You're going to sign a Facundo Buonanotte. For me, I think he is a decent player. He's a decent young player, but he is another one where you already see the excuses stacking up, right? You already see the excuses piled up. He's a young player. He's not used to playing at this level. The pressure of playing for Chelsea is different from playing for Brighton. You already see the excuses piling up. So you can love your club. I'm sure other clubs like Manchester United, Liverpool, Arsenal, Leeds United, they have fans who are this way. You can love your club, but you can also look and say, come on, the board, the ownership, you're not doing the right things. You're just not. One thing that Chelsea would have got to, believe me, I'll go on to other news, but I'll just say this, and then that'll be the last of it for now. And then I'll share my screen on Facundo Buonanotte, and then we'll move on. Now, one thing that I've wanted is when you take off the number one guy, say left wing, right wing 10, the next person that's coming up is not a drop-off. It's not a significant drop-off. And that's what Chelsea would have gotten from Xavi Simons. If you had ended up, right, getting Xavi Simons, when defenders and opposition teams would have been scratching their heads, shedding tears because you have Palmer coming off, and then rather than the opposition team getting rest, you get a Xavi Simons coming in. So the levels are still where it is. But now you're going to a guy where he's not even a 10. They're talking of getting Fami Lopez. But one thing you got to know about La Masia graduates is they will never force La Masia graduates and Castilla graduates. They will never force moves out of Real Madrid or Barcelona. Never. They will never do it. So let's see what happens with that one. But Buonanotte, we just wish him the best. Chelsea hope he comes good. But am I super confident that's going to happen? No. And the fact that he's alone, that's just crazy talk to me. So just share what Fabrizio Romano posted on this, and then let's go on that one. So, yeah. Exclusive. Chelsea are working on deal to sign Facundo Buonanotte from Brighton. Negotiations underway with Brighton for Argentine talent. List of several clubs in UK, Borussia Dortmund, and more. And of course, there's also got the Here We Go. So that's that. So that's that with respect to Facundo Buonanotte. Overall, how would I say, a good signing? Yeah, that's left to be seen. I'm not hyper confident about it. So let's see how that all shakes down. But for me, it's more than a bit underwhelming in my opinion. Now, the next person I think we should talk about is Kobe Mino. Kobe Mino has stated that he wants to leave Manchester United on loan to get game time. And for me, just a bit crazy, right? And that's why the likes of that's why the likes of Ruben Amorim, I think, probably should be sacked, right? Because you don't do that. You want to play your three at the back system, right? You know what it requires. You know the caliber of central mids that it requires. And you, for whatever reason, you decide that you are not going to play Kobe Mino, who is about the only guy that can be in the team right now, in that Manchester United team, that can play in that central midfield position, right? And then what you do is you keep him out of the team and you keep the likes of Casemiro. Now, it's clear, Casemiro has more experience than Kobe Mino. 100%, he does. But one thing he doesn't have is he doesn't have the legs. Kobe Mino doesn't have, Casemiro doesn't have the legs to play in that two-man central midfield. Same thing with Bruno Fernandes. He may be good on the ball, but he doesn't. So I think it's a bit criminal for me that Ruben Amorim has decided to treat him the way he has treated him. So I'll just share this and then say Kobe Mino could be heading out on loan, according to Fabrizio Romano, in the next 48 hours. So final 48 hours of the summer, Kobe insists, despite Amorim words in the press conference, that Manchester United replied. So he insists to leave. Now, obviously, you wouldn't see a coach come on during the press conference to say, I don't want this player, he's not going to play. As a player, if a coach says, I want him to fight with XYZ player, I want him to show he wants to stay. You need to get the opportunities to stay. You need to get opportunities to play. But when it comes game day and you see on the pitch, on the squad sheet, you see Bruno Fernandes, you see Casemiro in the starting lineup week after week, then all the manager is saying is just water on dog's back, easily shaken off. So for me, I just feel it's a bit sad. Coaches do this a lot. Apparently, even with Chelsea, for some reason, Maresca just got overly enamored with Fermin Lopez out of nowhere after you had this deal in place for Xavi Simons. But that's a different discussion, which we'll get back to later on. So, Manchester United fans, how are you feeling about Kobe Mino possibly leaving the club? And do you think you have enough in your midfield? Because when I look at Manchester United's midfield, I just laugh. It looks the way I want it to look. It looks horrible, right? It looks really, really bad, especially with the formation that Ruben Amorim wants to play. You want to play that three-man midfield, you need absolute monsters in that midfield. Stamina monsters, right? Technically gifted monsters can go two ways. That can go attack, that can defend, that can create in that midfield. That have that stamina. So, but when you decide that you want to go with Casemiro and what's his face, you want to go Firmino, you want to go what Casemiro and Bruno Fernandes, then you're just making a mockery of your formation. And especially it then goes on to make the decision not to tweak the formation even more criminal, right? It makes it criminal when you decide that no, I'm not going to tweak the formation to a 4-3-3 or a 4-4-2, whatever. I'm going to stick with my tried and trusted 3-4-3. I'm going to play with two central midfielders. And you're seeing that your team is struggling playing that because you have the wrong personnel. You have square pegs in, I would say, spherical or round holes. So how's that going to work? For me, it just doesn't make any sense. And these young managers, they have to learn that your style of play, your philosophy has to lead to winning. That's what Glasgow Rangers are facing right now. They signed Russell Martin thinking that, we're signing this guy with this philosophy. But you should have looked at how he played with Southampton. You should have seen the absolute rubbish he got Southampton doing under this modern football with passes from the back, 2 million passes before we even leave our 18-yard box, which is criminal in my opinion, and then he gets signed. It's like the coach of Bayern Munich, Vincent Kompany, has given coaches this illusion. He came to Burnley, playing this sort of football that all modern coaches want to play supposedly, and he got Burnley relegated, and for some reason got the Bayern job. So that's why everyone now wants to, I'll come up with this club and play whatever ridiculous philosophy I want to play, whatever ridiculous tactics I want to play. Whether or not we win, some big club out there will come and sign me, which is absolutely ridiculous, maddening in my opinion. But there you have it. So now, speaking about Bayern Munich, got a huge one with Nico Jackson, possibly, I think, almost certain now, he's heading to Bayern on loan. So exclusive Nicolas Jackson to Bayern, here we go. Deal agreed with Chelsea on initial loan move, 50 million euros, which would turn out to be about 12.30 million pounds. And then buy option clause, not mandatory. So essentially, this is not an obligation. You just know he probably won't be bought at that price. So not mandatory for 80 million euros packet, that's a 5 million pounds packet and sell-on clause. So since you made it an option, then that means they're not going to buy. Then that means they may go on to negotiate downwards, and especially given the fact that he'll be coming off the bench for Kane. But who knows? Given the way football is played in the Bundesliga, everyone plays with a crazy high line, and given the fact that probably Bayern would, by 70 minutes of most games or 60 minutes by most games, be 2-3-0, 4-0 ahead. So he could come off the bench and easily get 25 goals. So who knows? Maybe that will come through for Chelsea. Now, this is where I say this Chelsea board, not necessarily Clear Lake or Blue Core or whatever, the Paul Winstanley types and all that stuff, I feel they don't know what they're doing. Because if this deal was on the table all this while, why didn't you agree to this a long time ago? But anyways, and you were going to accept it. It was a deal you're going to accept. But anyways, there you have it. Nico Jackson heading to Bayern. What do you think of it? Chelsea fans, do you think that's a good move? I think that's an okay move. Hopefully he's going to get game time. He's going to score goals there. And even if he doesn't end up going to Bayern, he could, however, end up attracting interest from other clubs. Maybe even Premier League clubs that would see him score 25 goals and feel like, okay, yes, this is our guy. And then go on to pay the huge fee. Pay a huge fee for him. Maybe 65 or 70 million pounds, who knows, because the market can really, really be fickle. So there you have it, guys. Nico Jackson to Bayern. What are your thoughts and opinions on that one? those opinions on that one. So for me, I think fine move, fine move, fine move. Let's see how that all shakes down. So Manchester United fans, if you're joining, what do you think about Kobe Mino? Possibly leaving the club, even if it's on loan. Are you upset with that? Are you happy about it? I'm kind of upset for you, but I want your midfield to be rubbish because I don't like you guys, Manchester United fans. But anyways, I think the fact that he's leaving and it doesn't look like Manchester United are looking to get instant replacement in is crazy to me, because I think if you want to let Kobe Mino go for whatever reason, then you should go on to get maybe Baleba or someone, those sort of midfielders that would fit the style of play that Ruben Amorim wants to play. So I think that's why it's just crazy town for me. Then Cole Palmer possibly will be out. Not possibly. Maresca said it that he'll be out, so that means probably we're going to have Estadio Willian playing in a position where I don't think best suits him, but that's where he's going to play anyway. So we're going to have Estadio playing that 10 role, and then maybe Neto starting out wide on the left, and possibly going with Gittins again wide on the left, because let's not forget, though we've gotten the here we go for Garnacho, medical still has to be done, and the club has to officially announce a player. And when you see things like this happening, for me, that's why I just felt like the deal for Xavi Simons could have been done and he would have been starting today, in my humble opinion. But I guess the higher ups, they think they know what they're doing, but they don't. I'm sorry, I'm not that kind of guy. I don't pick niches, right? I don't pick political parties to support. This is football. Yeah, I don't pick, I'm going to support these people, the ownership, no matter what they do. I'm going to support it. And I'm not one of those guys that's going to say, they just signed me, the next 22-year-old Messi, and I'm going to say, no, that's not good. No. I'll deal with things subject matter basis, on a case-by-case basis, right? But I think the people just decide to choose a different sects that they support. But anyway, that's a different discussion for another day. So I just think that's a huge mistake. Now, yet again, we've got another loan move for Brighton. Brighton loaning another player. Send a player off on loan, and I think that's Sarmiento. Now, for me, this guy, shouldn't he be playing already for Brighton if they have any plans for him? Because I think he should be playing. He should have been, because he's been with them for quite a while. So Sarmiento have agreed loan deal for Yeremi Sarmiento from Brighton, all done after 6 points in 2 Serie A games. Sarmiento have agreed to deal with Brighton this morning. So fair play. He goes there, kind of running their business like Chelsea. But I think that because of the profile of the club, it doesn't really bother people that much. But fair play. It's like this is the season for Brighton loans. Now, I'll just say this is maddening for me that Chelsea will even be loaning players from Brighton. I don't get that at all. I don't get it at all. And then Chelsea fans, how do you feel about Palmer being out? You think the business that Chelsea have done will have enough cover for him? And then going off world, they've been going off to Europe. Marseille have set 50 million euros as his transfer fee for Andrea Rabiot. Andrea Rabiot, which was madness. He fell out with Rowe. Rowe has gone to Bologna in the Serie A, so I think that's a fine move for them. But I think that was just crazy. Like I would have thought there was a better way to handle this, right? Because I think De Zerbi is just being overly temperamental, in my opinion. Players have fallen out. They fought. Players fight every day. Players don't. Not every teammate. Not all teammates are friends or buddies or go to family dinners and parties. Sometimes they fall out. You could have fined them, suspended them for a game or two, and then get them back into the swing of things. But De Zerbi made a decision, and then the club hierarchy as well decided to make a decision. So he'll be leaving Marseille, where he's set right now 50 million euros, that's about 30 million pounds. So are there any takers? There's AC Milan as well. I know Max Allegri likes Rabiot. So probably he could join them, and then he played for him while he was at Juventus. So maybe he brings him back to AC Milan. So I think that's that with Rabiot. It's just crazy that once players make mistakes, that's it, that's done. But a coach can make a mistake, ownership groups can make mistakes, and they still remain, at the club. Now, speaking about players remaining at clubs, let's talk about an outgoing from Genk. Nigerian striker Tolu Arokodare. It's been agreed with Wolves. We've got the here we go. Just waiting for the official announcement for Tolu Arokodare to join Wolves. For me, I think Wolves are getting a really good player here. Now, for me, I would like Strand Larsen to remain at Wolves in spite of getting Tolu Arokodare. But the way it seems like he's been left out of this matchday squad, just fingers crossed, let's see how that all shakes down. So Tolu Arokodare completing his medical at Wolves later today after 27 million euros, about 23 odd million pounds. Deal agreed with Genk. The deal is done as exclusively revealed. Nice one. I think that's a good one for him. Good one for Wolves. I think if they decide to play with a 5-3-2, that would be really, really interesting to see, because I like to see different styles of play. That's what makes football the beautiful game for me, in my opinion. Unlike this dross that people want to do right now, where where everyone wants to play the same way, even when they don't have the players, to play, to play that style of football. It's just crazy to me. So I would have loved to see Strand Larsen paired up with Tolu Arokodare. When was the last time we saw two number 9s, paired up in play? You have a 4-4-2 or any formation that would see two forwards. Very rare. It used to be Burnley, under Shandai, having two strikers. I would love to see Wolves with two strikers, having Strand Larsen and Tolu Arokodare. I think that would have been absolutely mayhem for teams that would face them. Now, later on, I'll be having a reaction video. I'll be giving some insight to Wolves fans, and I'll also be reminding Nigerian football fans about Tolu Arokodare, what he brings to the table, what the Wolves fans can expect with this signing. Because I think he is a very, very good player. 6'7", he's got pace, deceptively fast for a man his size. He gives you that box presence, obviously, gives you the goals, he comes up with assists. So I think he scored with 1 goal this season and coming up with about 7 assists. So if you get your strikers, let's say he comes to the Premier League and scores, say, 15 goals and gives you between 5 to 6 assists and up to 1 goal contributions in his first season, that would be amazing for Wolves. I think Wolves will be staying up if he does that. When you have Arias on the one side, bringing those balls in, and you have Lopez on the other, bringing crosses in as well. I think it will be amazing. I think Wolves will stay up. But if they keep Strand Larsen and they go with 2 strikers, they may even push for Europe. I think they may even, be able to push for at least an Europa League spot, in my humble opinion. So that's opinions on, first of all, Nigerian fans, if you're watching, what do you think about Tolu Arokodare heading to Wolves? Make all the moves. The move you're happy with is a move that you would have preferred him going to Italian Serie A, or you would have preferred him going to a club higher up the table. For me, I feel, first off, it's a good move that is making progress, because that's what I want to see for every Nigerian player, make progress up the ranks, and join a big club. But I think you've gone to Wolves, that's the first step. You go there, you prove yourself, and then maybe a bigger club signs him. Who knows? Maybe he helps Wolves finish in Champions League spots, and that's just happy days for everyone. So that's brilliant all round for the player, and nice one. So just to go back to what we started, if you're just joining, Chelsea close to completely signing, loan signing anyways, for Leicester's, for Brighton, youngster, I would call him a youngster, is Facundo Buonanotte. Buenos dias, guys. Facundo Buonanotte went to Chelsea on loan. And for me, you have Palmer out, will be playing this game. So is he the backup for Palmer? I don't see it. People have already been coming out with these sort of statements that either foolish or they sound like they've been paid to make the statements, which is the backup for Cole Palmer should be a backup. What? I was just trying to say you shouldn't be signing a number 10 that is of such high level quality. So the backup should be of backup quality. Then you are an ambitious club if that is your strategy, right? If that is your strategy, if your strategy is let's sign a player that is not really good enough to challenge for the number 1 guy's spot, then that means you're not really ready to compete for anything. So that sort of statement, it just sounds condescending, it sounds stupid, and it sounds like something that only someone who's paid to do it would do. So it's just madness to me. And then, of course, we talk about Nico Jackson heading to Bavaria, heading to Germany on loan to Bayern Munich, and a 12 to 13 million pounds loan fee. I think it's crazy for a loan fee, but that's it. And for me, I just feel like if you would have accepted this deal, you should have accepted it. You should have accepted it a long time ago. Forgive me if I'm a bit still hot that Chelsea missed out on Xavi Simons. I'm a bit upset still about it, and especially when you look at who is the replacement? Who are you going for? So Fermin Lopez, he's not going to leave Barcelona. It's too late in the days anyway. It's too late in the day. So that's it. So Nico Jackson to Bayern on loan, 80 million euros, 75 million pound buy option, which is not obligatory. It's an option. So Bayern can decide whether or not to take it. And what that means is let's just hope he has game time and scores enough goals to attract attention. Because next season, if you think Chelsea are done buying, they are not done buying, because the model of this club right now is to buy. That's the model of the club. Buy, flip, buy, flip, buy, flip. Buy a player, play him a couple of games, and then increase his value a bit, sell him off the next season, or in 2 seasons he's gone. Because they're still negotiating with Emmanuel Emega to get him as a striking option. So don't be surprised. Do not be surprised if Liam Delap is sold next season. Don't be surprised. Don't just be surprised. Or even João Pedro could be sold next season. It could be. It just could be. And speaking of João Pedro, now maybe Enzo Maresca would decide to play him as a 10, which would just be crazy to me. When as an ancient man, you tell people that these players are humans, they get tired, they get broken, they get injured, they get upset. People say, oh no, Palmer, play him. Just keep playing him. Each time I talk about Palmer, people will run away. Like I'm saying, he's not a good player. He is a good player. Very, very good player. Top class player. But he's still human. His bones are not made of vibranium. He doesn't have engine oil flowing through his bloodstream. So he gets tired, he gets injured, he needs to rest. Eden Hazard at Chelsea would play sometime, he would come up. You would have the Pedro coming up for him. And so you play Palmer, play him into the ground, and then what are you left with? And so now let's see who the club would use in his spot. So that's it. And then of course we've got the here we go for Garnacho. So I think he'll be announced pretty soon. That one. Xavi Simons also got here we go. He'll be joining Spurs. So I think they have a nice looking attacking front. Richarlison is in good nick right now. Kudus, is playing very well. You've got Xavi Simons there. So when you have Kudus and Xavi Simons creating for Richarlison, so I think he will score a decent amount of goals. He may hit 20 goals this season, who knows? So they're good on that front. Liverpool, I think they're pretty good as well. The reports are they're still preparing to make that £130 million bid for Alexander Isak. And I think that Alexander Isak thing, if they wait till the transfer deadline day, Newcastle United may just have to sell because they spend a lot of money on Nick Wolverhampton, the German Stuttgart, the Stuttgart and German striker. So they spend a lot of money, the 80-odd million euros, which is why when I see Nigerian players, I'll say it valued in certain ways, it just makes me go crazy. Like, what's going on here? But they have it. So Newcastle United have spent that much money on Nick Wolverhampton, so they may still be they may be open to selling Isak. and then they may be looking to sign another striker. And that's why Chelsea were holding out a bid for Nicolas Jackson. They were hoping to create a bidding war, hoping to create a bidding war and then get teams to spend a lot of money on Nicolas Jackson. But there is the thing. That's why I say these boards, sporting directors, they don't know what they're doing, because if you want to create a bidding war, you must make that player look valuable, right? Once you just decided, oh, we're keeping you out of the team, instantly you tell every prospective buyer, this player isn't good enough. This player is not one we should be looking to place high premium on, right? So that's it. Even with Nkunku, the way he was treated, he just told the likes of AC Milan, let's chill, let's not rush. We're going to get him for a bargain price. The same thing with Nico Jackson. Because if you still sort of integrated him in the team, in these past few games, he's come off the bench, played a couple of games in the Club World Cup, he actually played a lot of games, then teams would have looked at him and said, okay, is he still a decent player, and would have come up there with £60 million to sign Nico Jackson. But I guess that it is what it is. And now, also talking about Newcastle United, maybe they can go in for Victor Boniface if they're looking to sign a second striker, because I just feel like they want to get two strikers in the building. And with Isak all set to leave, maybe he becomes an option. So, those are opinions on that bit. And what we've talked about, Kobe Manu leaving Manchester United fans, how are you feeling about that one? How are you feeling about Kobe Manu possibly leaving? So a bit of Serie A related transfers. So Fiorentina agreed a new deal for Moses Kane and has new release clause. So 52 million euros. I wonder who would be looking to pay that amount for Moses Kane. But to be fair, he's been in good nick for Fiorentina. So that's a good one overall. He's been in good nick for Fiorentina. Let's see who is going to pay that. So Fiorentina have agreed a new deal for Moses Kane with salary increase all set to be signed today. New release clause will now be higher than previous 52 million euros. So that's even more than that. So probably looking for 60 or 70. Oh, well, and that's the problem. That's the thing. When clubs offer players new deals, it's not just for the player. They also want to increase the offering, and increase the offering, increase what they want to get for the player. And then Como are going for Diego Carlos from Fenerbahce. Now, I think Como are becoming a nice tidy side, and Fabregas is becoming a very, very good young coach. And for me, I would say Chelsea, keep an eye on him. So Diego Carlos deal for Fenerbahce. So confident to get from Master done. Let's see how that all shakes down. And of course, we have Nkunku speaking still on Serie A. We have Nkunku going to AC Milan from Chelsea. So quality-wise, I think Chelsea are a bit short now. Chelsea are a bit short in terms of quality, because if you're letting Nkunku go, and obviously you didn't get Javi Simons in the building, what you just have is Cole Palmer. And now he's proven what I've been saying all this while, that he is human and he's out now. What are you going to do about that? What's going to happen with that? So, and then Tolu Arokodare signs for Wolves. How are we feeling about that one? For me, like I said, it's a good move, and I think Wolves, to get him for what they've signed him for, is an absolute snip. Absolute snip. So, Uche could be sold still to Wolves. Transfer deadline day. Let's see how that happens. So, according to what we're reading, Getafe could be looking to sell Christoph Uche on transfer deadline day. I hope they have replacements in, and I hope he's making the right move to the right club, because, for me, I feel like it's one thing making the big move to a new club, that will pay you more. But what's more important is going to a club where you actually, you're actually going to get to play, as opposed to going to a club where you straddle the bench for one, or you get played out of position. So I saw one report saying Wolves see him as a striker, which is just crazy to me. Why? How are you seeing him as a striker? I think he's a special player, that a midfielder that can score goals and should be used as such. But let's just have a look at this article here and see what they've had to say about this. This is from Soccer Net, yeah, from all Nigerian soccer. So, Getafe president has admitted that the club, yeah, Getafe president Angel Torres has admitted that the club must sanction at least one outgoing transfer before the close of the summer, with Crisantis Uche among those who could be moved on. Also involved Nigerian players this window. Uche was on the brink of joining Premier League club Wolverhampton Wanderers, but the deal has not yet been finalized, with reports indicating the midfielder is reluctant to leave Getafe and prefers to continue his career in Spain. Despite the uncertainty surrounding his future, Getafe number 10 has featured prominently at the start of the new campaign, playing every minute for the club's opening 3 La Liga games. Okay. So Angel Torres said, "We are in the same situation as we were 2 weeks ago. We still have a number of players left to register. And to do that, we need to sell someone who can add value to our squad." Yeah, so that means the player will end up leaving. So fair play in that regard, that he wants to stay. But my brother Crisantis, if you see a good offer that's coming for you, I think you take it. And you take it because the 3 big clubs in Spain, except you're getting an offer from Atletico Madrid or from Barcelona or from Real Madrid, then my guy, you move, right? You move. That's the way I see it, right? Crisantis. If you get an offer from Atletico Madrid, then okay, La Liga makes sense. If Barcelona comes in, La Liga makes sense. If Real Madrid comes in, La Liga makes sense. But anything other than those 3, I don't see why you're married to stay in La Liga. And if you sort of fall on bad form, Getafe won't hesitate to toss you to the bench. So now you're in good nick, you're in good form. If a good offer comes to you at a club where you know you're going to play and progress, then you move on, right? You move on. Don't get tied to this, I want to remain at the club. And you move on, right? So I think that's very important for players to know. So talk about several things. Talk about Tolu Arokodare heading to Wolves, good move. Talk about Nicolas heading to Bayern Munich on loan, huge loan fee. Talking about Chelsea negotiating loan deal for Facundo, Facundo Buonanotte from Brighton, which is just crazy. Just signed a player on loan from Brighton. Anyways, we got Brighton's best customers. So, what do you think about that? What do you think about the various transfer news that we've brought to you today? What do you think about it? Let me know in the chats, and I'll just play this briefly for you, and then I'll be back to continue with the show.
Hey, I know you are enjoying the video, but please subscribe now. It is awesome.
Hey Ben, I have just subscribed to the Ugo Amadi football channel. You are right, it is awesome.
Yes, I'm back. Thanks for staying tuned and watching the show and discussing with me. Now, there's just one funny quote I've seen from Ruben Amorim. He just reminded me of an old song that I'm not going to sing here because of my absolutely horrible voice and copyright issues. So, Ruben Amorim says, according to Fabrizio, sometimes I want to quit, sometimes I want to be here for 20 years. I need to improve on that. Every time we have a defeat like that, every time like that, I am going to be like that. Sometimes I'm going to say I hate my players, sometimes I'm going to say I love my players. Anyway, Ruben Amorim, well, I guess we all feel that way about clubs we associate with. But there you are. You have to be adaptable, Amorim. If indeed you really want to stay at the club, you have to be adaptable, and you have to be adaptable. You have to tweak your game to suit the players that you have. Another crazy quote, right? Crazy thing I just saw. I don't think that's even possible, but I think this from a new that Isak should be blocked from representing, according to Andy Townsend from Talksports. Yeah, yeah, they say a lot of quality in there. So Alexander Isak should be blocked from representing Sweden in the international break after refusing to play for Newcastle United, according to Talksport and the Townsend. There should be rules in place that prevent that from happening. He had no desire to play for Newcastle, to want to even train, as we were all aware, and think his situation. If that's the case, if you don't want to go to work, if you don't want to play in preseason friendlies, or when the club asks you to play, then why should you be allowed to go play for your country because it suits you, because you feel you're entitled to? Now, when someone or people come from an entitled point of view, it just blinds them to common sense, right? Now, if Isak was a Chelsea player, I would, I would want him to play for Chelsea. I want him to play. I wouldn't like the fact that he hasn't trained with his teammates. I wouldn't like the fact that he's gone out to train, with his former team, train with at least in the facilities of his former team, Real Sociedad, right? But you cannot stop someone, surely, you cannot stop someone from playing for their country. You can't do that. What sort of rules are you talking about? Rules to prevent players from playing for their country? Does that make sense? So, what if a club decides that a player who is fully fit, we don't want him to play for us anymore? Should that club be prevented from, signing players from other countries or something, or some weird rule like that? It doesn't make any sense to me. For me, it is something that's personal between Isak and Newcastle United. I think overall, something will be sorted out between them. And for me, this is the mess you get when you don't include the clauses you need to include in the contract. When you don't include the needed clauses in the contract, this is the sort of mess you get, right? This is the sort of thing you experience where people are just winging things. Because if Isak had in his contract maybe a release clause of a buyout clause of 70 million pounds, a release clause saying if a Champions League side puts an offer for me, the club should allow me to speak to the club, then all these things would have been easy. But when you don't have these things included in your contract, then you have the mess you have. And it's almost like I sound like a broken record. A gentleman's agreement doesn't exist in business. Anything that has to do with money, financial status, your job, gentleman's agreement doesn't exist. It's only used by corporations, companies, organizations that want to manipulate you. If they really want it, they will have it there. Because for some companies outside of football, right, even up to the hours you work, you have it in your contract. The amount of days you can take off for annual leave is in your contract. So whatever they want is in your contract. So anything else they say, oh, don't worry, we'll take care of you, don't worry. No. Worry about it. If it's important to you, make sure you have it in your contract. You see with Ademola Lookman this season as well. We've seen it with different players this season. We've seen it with Wisa. When you sign a contract as a player, don't just go into those contracts and thinking about, oh, what I'm going to earn right now, and that's it. Think about, if I need to leave this club, how would I leave? What would be the process for me to leave? So I think that's the mess Newcastle United find themselves in. And I think I just have a feeling that Isak will end up still going to Liverpool. I just feel like come deadline day, he'll go to Liverpool. And I think that was the best for everybody. Let him go to Liverpool, use that money, reinvest it properly into your club, and then learn from it. You know, as a club as well, you have a release clause in the contract of the player that you're signing. So if an offer comes in from another club, then you can you can say, okay, either you meet the XYZ £90 million release clause in the buyout clause in the contract, or we're not speaking to you. And the player and his representatives will be aware of it, and they can take that to, you know, prospective buying clause to say, okay, the club has a buyout clause in his contract. If you want to speak with him directly, go on and pay the £90 million or whatever. So that's the way I see it. So, and it's now official. Nkunku has joined AC Milan. That's now official. I'm happy for him that he's gone somewhere where, you know, he will be valued. So super happy for the player. Happy for Christopher Nkunku, because I think he was a victim of Maresca not fancying anyone other than Palmer. And so I think fair play for him to leave, because he is indeed a very, very good player. He's a very, very good player. So the fact that for some reason, and that's why I think I have issues with these so-called modern coaches that always out to prove something. Always out to prove something. Even when they've won nothing, they're always out to prove that I'm the big guy, right? I'm the guy. I'm the big boss. So I think Nkunku is a victim of that. So it's official right now. Time to stock up on balloons. Yes, AC Milan, time to stock up. I think he will score 20 goals this season. You can clip this, you can bookmark this, whatever you want to do. I think Nkunku will score 20 goals this season for AC Milan. That's for sure. He will score goals. Because go in there with confidence, go in there to a team that believes in you. And that's the one thing you get with Serie A teams. And maybe it's not really by design, but it's by the reason of the nature of the Italian Serie A, in terms of they don't have that as much financial power as the Premier League. So if you sign a player in for £30 million, you're making sure that you get the absolute, you do everything to get the best out of that player, because you know you can't just sell him 2 seconds after. You know, so when Premier League sign a player for £100 million today, and you're all open to selling that player in January. You know, you can sign a player today, and then in 2 months' time, the player, you rock him to the bench. Chelsea fans, I'm sure we all know Romelu Lukaku signed for 90 odd million and then got tied to the bench. You know, and then had that falling out with what's his face now, with Tuchel, and then got rocked to the bench, and then got flipped, got loaned out, and then to Inter Milan back, and then got sold to Napoli. So that's the thing with. So I think Nkunku overall, he will do well there. If you're joining the stream, let's take you through what we have discussed so far on the channel on this video today. So talk about Facundo Buonanotte joining Chelsea on loan from Brighton. Talk some opinions on that. What will you think about it? I think he's a nice young player, but I don't think he's actually what Chelsea needs at this minute. And then as well, we had talks about, you know, Nico Jackson going to Bayern on loan with a huge loan fee, £12 million, thereabout £30 million, so thereabout huge loan fee, no, with a package of 80 million euros transfer fee. That is if Bayern decide to take up the option to buy the player. It's an option on obligation, so let's see how that shakes down. So we're talking about that as well. And we talked about big transfer news for Nigerian football fans, for Nigerian players as well. Tolu Arokodare joins English Premier League side, Wolverhampton Wanderers. And I think that's a good move for the player. And it would be nice to see him, you know, in the Premier League and see what he does. I'm one particularly from the outside looking in. I would like to see how it would feel like to see Tolu Arokodare paired up with Strand Larsen in a two-man, you know, attack. You have your John Arias on one side, and you have your Lopez on the other side, just whipping balls into the box. It would be lovely to see. But I just have a sneaky feeling they may end up selling Strand Larsen. So let's see about that one. And then after the falling out at Olympique Marseille, Adrian Rabiot has been put on the marketplace. So 50 million euros, 30 million pounds. Let's see. He already has fans in AC Milan in, Maxi Allegri. So possibly he could be heading to AC Milan. Let's see, because that's a good price for them as well. And then talking about a situation of Ademola Lookman still pending. No one knows where he's going to go at this minute. They talk about Spurs being interested, but the Spurs are able to get Ademola Lookman, Kudus, Javi Simmons, and what's his face, and Lookman. That would be crazy, 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 in my opinion, if my Chelsea have to side. And then, of course, we talked about Uche Crisantos possibly leaving Getafe. In fact, there were serious reports about him joining Wolves, and then those reports sort of died down, and then Tolu Arokodare got sort of confirmed that he's heading to Wolves. I think it would be nice for him to go up the table in the Italian Serie A. I mean, in La Liga, go up the table, maybe sign for Atletico Madrid, Real Madrid, or Barcelona. But those sort of offers right now, I don't think they look like they will happen. I think he will play well in that Barcelona midfield, given the higher line and the kind of football they want to play. But I think if a good move comes in, if a good offer comes in the Premier League, you take it. You take it. And I, of course, brought to you this yesterday about AC Milan possibly could sell Samuel Chukwueze permanent transfer to Fulham. I think that would be an awesome move for the player. And as well, there's some talk about, we're holding him back because of the game versus Cremonense. Let's see what happens if by this weekend or coming close of the transfer window, he ends up indeed with Fulham. I think that would be an excellent move for him. Fulham have also been reported to be interested in Philippe Otele. I think that would be a good one for Philippe Otele as well, given the attacking football that the brand of attacking football Marco Silva wants to play and likes to play. So if you have Philippe Otele on one side, Samuel Chukwueze on the other, I think that will make them a massive threat, in my opinion. Now, one player I want to see where he goes come the end of the season, if indeed he does leave, is Rafael Duruchimi. He's been a Victoria player and he's scored lots of goals for them. He's super dynamic, can run the channels. I think let's see how it shapes up for him, because he's a very, very good player. And maybe if Fulham could do with him, given the fact that your Jimenez is not growing any younger anyways, into his 30s now. So I'm thinking maybe, although they say they have Ruiz, I just think Rafael Duruchimi could be a good buy for someone. So let's see how that shapes up. Now, Amorim is having some existential crisis at Manchester United, thinking of leaving, sometimes thinking of going at some time. Guy, choose one side, stay. And then we talk about Kobe Mano. Kobe Mano said he wants to leave Manchester United, at least on loan, because he wants game time. Now, for me, I quite understand why he wants to leave, looking at it from the player basis, because for me, I like looking at things not just from the side of club, but from the players as well. I look at the players as humans as well, because we oftentimes as fans, we look at players and think, you should play for us. You should be willing to play. We look at them as NPCs, as they should be there, as opposed to thinking, what will this player be going through? What is he thinking in his mind? When he's being dropped, when he's not being played. The coach comes up to say, I want him to fight. And then in the same breath says he trains very well. So how is he not fighting? And then you don't give him game time. So how can he fight? So I get why he wants to leave. But for me, it's craziness that Manchester United will sell or want to at least let go, whether temporary or permanent basis, a player, the only player they have right now, that can play in that midfield that is meant for this three at the back, two central midfield style that Amorim is wedded to. And that's the thing. He is wedded to it. It's not like, okay, he can switch. He wants to switch it up and play, maybe a 4-3-3 with Casemiro, playing in that defensive midfield role. And then you've got Bruno Fernandes playing the 10 role. It's not that he still wants to stick with playing the two-man midfield. And then one of the only players that can actually play that two-man midfield role doesn't get it looking. For me, that is just absolute crazy talk. That's craziness, in my opinion. Absolute madness. I just don't understand how, how that's even a thing, right? But just feels like Kobe Minor would leave. So fair play to him if he does leave Manchester United. Hope he gets game time wherever he goes to. Is back to Chelsea, the issue of Tyreek George. Would he still be at Chelsea come end of the transfer window? Hearing RB Leipzig are interested in him still. And Chelsea fans, don't be surprised if Tyreek George is sold to Leipzig. Don't be shocked. And then I know your brain would spin like mine, thinking again to say, if you were going to sell him to RB Leipzig, why didn't you make that part of the package to get Xavi Simons deal done? You think that this happened to Victor Osimhen as well, remember? And that's why I said this lot, they don't have an idea how to operate at the level they're being forced to operate in. Yeah, like now, if a Hollywood movie studio somewhere saw me and said, "Oh, this guy has some channel on YouTube, we'll bring him to be, our producer," like that, and you offer me good money, I will be jumping at it. Guess what? I will jump at it. I will grab both hands to earn that money and do what I can do with the job. But would I be the absolute best at it? Maybe I don't know. So that's the same thing with these guys, with Lawrence Stewart and what's his name, Paul Winstanley. That's the same thing with them, right? They've been offered this job at Chelsea. Whoa, of course they're going to take it, and they're not going to sack themselves. They earn way too much, right? But I said it before, the way you work at Brighton is different from the way you work at Chelsea, because the targets you go for at Brighton, given the Moneyball kind of model that Brighton run over there, is you're usually the king in those negotiations. The player you can afford to keep the player waiting for 3, 4, 5 months, because usually our players playing in some obscure league, super talented players, no doubt, but they're playing in obscure leagues that people don't really know that much about. So you can go and give the club the big guns. Maybe the player they've sold the player for maybe 50 million pounds, and you are coming to buy that player for 500,000 pounds. They'll be willing to wait for you, right? They'll be willing to keep that player wrapped in plastic and preserve him for you. But when you're at a club like Chelsea, every player you want, some other club wants that player. Every player you think you want to sign, another top club that can, in most cases, offer what you think you can offer to that player. So Champions League football, you've got clubs that can offer it. You want to say, oh, we're London, Arsenal, Spurs are there to say, oh, we've got London to offer you, right? So Champions League football, you've got Man City, you've got Liverpool, you've got Arsenal, you've got Spurs in this instance now that can offer that to the player. So if you muck around, if you snooze, you're going to lose. So that's, and now you're seeing it with some Chelsea fans are going, oh, we're going to boo Xavi Simons. Okay, well, you can boo him as a sports player, yeah, but you should be holding the ownership accountable. You should be holding the sporting directors, sport directors, whatever they call themselves, accountable. People say, oh, we're a family football club. Okay, let's take it that you're a family, right? And you have your kids jumping with muddy shoes on the bed. What are you going to do? And you say, okay, that's a good thing. You're doing something very good, bro. Aren't you going to, in your own way, whatever way you choose to discipline your kids or whatever way, wouldn't you say, John, James, Nkechi, Chinedu, whatever, you shouldn't be stepping on the bed, right? With your muddy shoes. Whatever is your own way to raise your children. That's what you probably do, right? You wouldn't just go on there and see them mudding the bed and say, oh, you're putting cool designs on the bed, and you go on to sleep on the muddy bed. I'm not sure that's what you do, but apparently that's what Chelsea fans, and I think fans of other clubs as well, you have some section of fan bases for Chelsea, Manchester United, Arsenal, Man City, Liverpool, Leeds United, the clubs all over the Premier League, all over the world. You have a section of the fan base of their fan base that feel like the only way to support my club is to support whatever is said, whatever is put out there, right? Some Chelsea fans are making, a case for Facundo Buonanotte, right? They're making a case. He's a nice player, What, really? You're signing him or no? So, for me, those sort of things don't make sense to me. So, let me know your opinions on this transfer dealings, and what sort of deals do you expect your clubs to do come transfer deadline day? You're expecting more business to be done. From a Chelsea perspective, we talk about Fleming Lopez looking to push that one through. I don't believe that would even happen. Now, talking about Ademola Lookman to Spurs, would that be a transfer deadline day deal? Maybe it does happen. Uche Crisantos to Wolves or to AC Milan, could that happen? Transfer deadline day, possibly that could happen as well. And then they talk about Rafael Onyedika, Nigerian international, currently playing for Club Brugge, could be heading to Galatasaray to join Nigerian compatriot and teammate at Nigerian Super Eagles, Victor Osimhen, at Galatasaray. Let's see how that shakes down. If that indeed happens, let's see. And speaking about transfer deadline day, we'll be having a transfer deadline day special live stream that would be, running from early in the morning to when the transfer window shuts at 7 p.m. 1st of September. So we'll be all in on that. I hope you will be joining the show then. So I want to say a big thank you to everyone who's been on this live stream with me today. You talk with me from the start of the show to the end of the show. That's a big thank you. And if you're watching this on replay, thanks. And subscribe to the channel if you haven't. It would be immense. Like this video, share the content, and I'll see you on yet another video. Do have a splendid rest of your day. Bye-bye.